Welcome to Living Chassidus. Together, let's live the Chassidus we learn.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Chassidus in the Morning. 15 minutes to change our lives. Kuntres just started Maamar Vav. First, we'll start by giving some tzedakah. Please go to tzedakah. Here, some tzedakah, and everyone can give tzedakah wherever they are, or you can get to live Chassidus. It's always a very worthy cause. And we're going to learn in honor of all the soldiers and all the Yidden Eretz Yisrael and the hostages that Mitzvah Hashem, they should be coming back very soon. Mitzvah Hashem, they should all come back very soon with the ultimate Geula and none of this Golus and these plans and the Yidden and Hamas and all the Shtusim, just Mashiach. But we're going to learn, especially for Shaked Bas Bella, that Mitzvah Hashem, the Shchus of our learning and all this and all the hostages should come back speedily, and also for Yosef Yitzchak ben Simcha, should be safe. Him, his whole unit, and all the soldiers and all the soldiers that are unwell or injured should have a speedy for Shlema. Like Mashiach comes, all these issues will be taken care of. So Mitzvah Hashem very, very soon. Okay, so we started talking about in Maamar Vav, started discussing basically after everything that we said and all this pressure and all this stress that happens coming down. So we said, Im kol zeh, it's all worth it. Even though all the ways are dangerous. And the sin, the sin is crouching by the doorway, ready to pounce on you to help you do a sin. Nevertheless, even though all these challenges, it's still worth creating the world and worth the whole battle that we have. Because, as we're going to continue talking about today, when we win, it's all worth it. And I think this is a very important, I remember years ago, I had a friend that he said that he got told by his mashpia, it was a very good vart. He goes, you look at yourself that when you do a mitzvah, that's like, oh yeah, it's obvious. When you do Aveira, that's the Chiddush. That's the novelty. And therefore, me do Aveira, how could I? It's worse. He goes, I really should look at the opposite way. By nature, you have the Yetzer Hara, hacking at you, annoying you, trying to get you to do all these things, and you manage to overcome that, do a mitzvah? Psh, amazing. And you think about it in another way. You have a person that is not from, and they do a mitzvah. What do we say? Oh, we celebrate, we dance, we do all these great things. It's so good. So why not for us the same thing? We're also deserving of it. And what we're learning here is the same thing, that we have to realize when we do a mitzvah, even though it's by rote, some of them, but when we put in some effort, that effort was fraught with challenges, simple challenges of the world and specifically the Yetzer Hara and Nefesh Bahamas. That's what we're saying. So last paragraph on page 99 in the green version of Kuntres. And therefore, through you overcoming all your challenges, you do the right thing. You elevate, and this is the beautiful thing, you elevate your neshama to a much higher, much more than what it was before it came down and closed off in a body nefesh Bahamas. And in the simple sense, when you're in seminary and you Siddish, you do Chitas, and you know Rambam, and you Lord, and you daven, and all these good things, it's very nice. It's great. But it's infinitely different and infinitely greater than when you come out of seminary and you go into the world you live in, whatever you're surrounding, whatever your situation is, and there you manage to do it. It's incomparably greater. It had nothing, because before it came down, the neshama didn't have anything getting in the way. Didn't know anything better. Didn't know anything else. There's nothing else. Like, this is what we do. And therefore, automatically, There was no avodah. There was no work. Therefore, when it comes down to a body, and it does its avodah, to subjugate the body, the nefesh bahamis, and to be complete in avodah, to really work on ourselves and to really do and work on that avodah. It makes a great ascent for the neshama. And it becomes a great pleasure above. Like it says in Bereshis, Tzachaik, laughter made for me Elikim. That the level, and he's going to explain, as just a little preface, that we have two main names of Hashem. You have the name of Havai and Elikim. And these synonymous, Havai, which is the one we're talking about, the Yud K, the Vav, and the K, that's Hashem above nature. There's a lot of different versions of this, but that's essentially Hashem above nature. And Elikim is the same gematria as Hatav and nature, which is the godliness included within nature, creating the world, the physical world, looking as separate from us, from God. And so, what do we say in the pasuk? It says, "Tzachaik asalir elikim," laughter made for me elikim. Elikim is a level of godliness as it is included within nature. So, what are we saying here? The daf gal yidei shem elikim. It's specifically through the name elikim, through the godliness included within nature. Shayidei zed nasa mitzius hayesh. That through the Shem Elikim, it makes an existence of something that's a yesh, that's an existence separate from Hashem, or of course feeling separate from Hashem, because of course nothing is separate from Hashem, but feeling of separateness from Hashem. V'chol inyane ha'olam ha'gashmi, in all the physical world, achurmin, the coarseness of it, asher hakol hu m'Shem Elikim, which all comes from this level of Elikim, comes from Elikim. Which like it says, Bereshis bar Elikim, in the beginning Hashem created, but with the name Elikim. V'chein nefesh bahamis. And so to the animal soul, Shar Shoyim Hashem Elikim, it comes from Hashem Elikim. Kiyadua Mavur Magmach is explained at length elsewhere. Hine al yedei aveda lamata b'achna hacheme v'chol nyan ha'gashmim. Therefore, in this physical world, when we subjugate the physical things, to turn ourselves away from doing bad and to pushing ourselves to do good, but per mamish, literally, not just in theory. It's like the joke that you come to, so I have the boys' version, but the girls, when you come to seminary like 3 hours late, and they ask you, where have you been? So you say, don't worry, I was having an argument with my Yetzer Hara and Nefesh Bahamis, but don't worry, in the end we won. 3 hours later we won. 3 hours late. So these ideas, you actually do it. From that specifically being in the world, in the Nefesh Bahamis, and having these trials and tribulations and overcoming them, that causes the tainug, the pleasure al yena, higher form of pleasure by Hashem. That meaning, in simple English, you have pleasure when certain things, and there's different levels of pleasure, and there's deeper levels of pleasure. And what we're saying is that by Hashem, there's infinitely more so an union of pleasure, an idea of pleasure, and through our avodah, through us working on ourselves to do the right thing, and we cause pleasure to Hashem. And another faraying to be had within yourself is when you do something good, meaning a Torah mitzvahs, you take care of yourself, you do something with some kavanah, you make sure to eat properly, sleep properly, some exercise, some good things with the intention to take care of myself so I can be a proper servant of Hashem. You cause pleasure, you cause Hashem pleasure. And it's something to think about. And every time you do a mitzvah, and especially when you push yourself, you cause great tainug, tzachaik, laughter, v'tainug elyon. Imagine making someone laugh, how good it is. Imagine making Hashem laugh. And this is what we're achieving when we do Torah mitzvahs, especially when we push ourselves. But this, and sort of the whole kunz, the whole novelty, the whole specialness of it is, it only happens when your neshama is down here. It doesn't happen up above. That type of pleasure doesn't exist. And a simple maybe analogy to understand this is like when you have a child and they have a hard time in school or whatever it is, and they push themselves and they try and they they achieve, the amount of pleasure and the nachas a parent has and the enjoyment is you can't compare. And you can talk about it as a teacher and a student, seeing a student push themselves, and you walk with them and they try. It's something that you can't talk about. So it's such an amazing experience and feeling. In comparison to a student that's very smart and just always does the right thing, it's easy. Nothing against them, it just doesn't have that same outcome. And this is what we're saying. The neshama, before it comes down, doesn't know any better. It just does the right thing all the time. It's simple. But when the neshama comes down to the physical body, it has to deal with it, and then it manages imkol zeh to overcome it and do the right thing, that causes great amounts of pleasure by Hashem. And we should. The point of this is not just to know, is to say to us, recognize within ourselves, that's what's happening. So when I do that thing and I push myself and I managed and I did that mitzvah or whatever it is, I gave that tzedakah, I called my friend and had some Ahavas Yisrael, or whatever it is, to give ourselves the due credit that it deserves. That was with ourselves. And now also going back to the other point we talked about, which was Malchus. So with Malchus, through coming down into the lower three worlds. Because remember, Malchus starts off in Atzilus. Malchus is in Atzilus, and it comes down to these lower worlds, which we said before it doesn't want to. We said for two reasons. One is because it always wants to be in its source. The nature of everything is to be back up in its source, like fire. And the second reason is because when Malchus comes down to create these worlds, it understands it's creating the opportunity for separation of Hashem and distance from Hashem. And that doesn't want. So now what happens to Malchus? Harei mevareres beirurim debriyat yasiyah. That when Malchus comes down into these lower worlds, it refines the worlds. Bedugma kamoi hislabshus haneshama beguf, just like the clothement of the neshama into a body. Shepoyeles hachnav abitul kanal, which and through the avodah causes the subjugation and the bittul of the body. When we do the right thing, and we get the body to be able to help us do the right thing. So too with the enclothement of Malchus, just like in the body, the neshama affects the body, so too Malchus affects the worlds. The B'yat he mevareres berurim the B'yat like it says in Mishlei, Batiten teref levesan. She gave teref spoils to a house. What's teref? Teref is begematria reish peches im hakelel. The gematria of teref is 248. Well, really, teref is 249. Tes is 9. Reish is 200. Pei is 280. Reish is 200. Pei is 80. Tes is 9, so 289. Whereas Rapach is 288. So 288 with the gematria of Teref is Rapach. Imakel, it's 288, which is 288 sparks. But the one is included in the word. The word itself is one more. And Hainu Mevareres Rapach Netzutze the Biridas Lamata. That the Malchus coming down to the lower worlds refines the 288 sparks that are in the lower worlds. Now, just to remind ourselves of the 288 sparks, and then we'll just finish up. That basically that there was the world of, in the higher worlds above Atzilus, you have Toyu and Tikkun. Toyu is a world of chaos, which is in simple terms, and we have to cut this short a little bit. In simple terms, Toyu was a world that there was a lot of light, but not a lot of vessels. It's like people just talking to each other, but no one's actually listening. And Tikkun is the opposite. There's a lot of kalim, a lot of vessels, a lot of people willing to listen, but not a lot of people willing to talk. And so what happened was the lights of Toyu, because everyone was talking, because it was all Toyu, it was all chaotic, there's all this light, but there was no keli, so they broke. And all the sparks came down to this world, 288 sparks. A lot of them were refined already by Yetzias Mitzrayim, and our job is to finish up all these sparks in the last few. I think the Rebbe said already that's all done, but whatever. We're learning the Rebbe Rashav's Maimis, and the Rebbe Rashav's time, there's still some sparks to be refined. And the Malchus into the world is helping refine those sparks. just to finish it off, one more paragraph. On page 103. So through Malchus coming down to these lower worlds, which it doesn't want to do, but it does, and it refines the world and refines these sparks, it adds more light. Until when the future comes, Mashiach comes, that the woman of valor is the crown of a king, crown of a husband. Meaning, before we said what was the language we used? 1 second. Before we said Titin Terev Levesa, that she gives spoils to her house. So first she gives, and through Malchus coming down to the world, not just it gives, but it transforms, that it becomes the crown to the husband. She bechinas Malchus tia bechinas mashpia. The Malchus will become the mashpia. At the moment, before Mashiach comes, Malchus is the makabel. And Malchus, like we were saying before, is the lowest of the 10 spheres. But when Mashiach comes, and when we do this Avodah B'Ruim, we're transforming Malchus to be really the Mashpia, the sphere Shalmaila, to the spheres above it. Like it says in Zechariah, in that day, living water will come out from Yerushalayim. What does that mean? It's Bechinas Malchus. Now Malchus will come out. Chet Yam El Hayam Hakadmeni, which is Yam HaChachma. Half will go to the water of the east, which is Chachma. This comes out, this expresses itself, this really comes to fruition when we finish all the refinement. She's of the low 3 worlds of Bria Tunisia will be refined. And that's through Malchus coming down to this world. So again, it's the same idea that there's challenges in life, but through overcoming the challenges and through making the right choices and pushing through, what we achieve, something that cannot be achieved without it. And in simple English, the challenges in life, without having challenges in life, it's very depressing. And it's a very depressing thought, but that's the reality. And when we have hardships, no one should ever have, but anything that's a little pushy and makes us grow. And it makes us really form who we are. And our job is to recognize that it's not coming to put us down, it's coming to help us. And this is sort of the nature of the world. The kitzur. Through the descent of the neshama to be clothed in the body and the nefesh b'hamis, that it could be corrupted, also in forbidden things, and standing at a test. This is life. We're full of opportunities to be corrupted, and it's full of tests. The all the physicality that we need, we should do it for L'Shem Shemaim, for God's sake. So nasa haliyah b'neshama, it makes an ascent in the neshama, the tainug l'mayla, and a pleasure to Hashem. V'chein hu b'sfiras hamalchus, so too with malchus. Shal yedei habeirurim shalamata, that through its refining from below, the Yosef bar ribu adds abundant light. So mitzvah Hashem, by all of us, we should recognize all that we're accomplishing with all our avodah. And mitzvah Hashem, we should have an amazing day and a good Shabbos.